Greetings and salutations! Imperator Vespasian bringing you skeleton infantry from Oathmark. These are from the same guys who brought you the Frostgrave stuff that we've already done videos on. This is from the Oathmark range, which is more sort of fighting fantasy sort of era, kind of, sort of. They do dwarves and elves and stuff like that. So this is the skeleton infantry box from these guys, and that's the skeleton infantry on the back. Right, so for many years, gamers will know that skeletons became quite hard to get hold of. You used to be able to get plastic skeletons, and then suddenly you couldn't get them anymore, and no one seemed to make them, or not decent ones. There were some from one of the companies, I can't remember, but the skeletons weren't actually that good, and you couldn't really convert them to anything else because they all had sort of chainmail and stuff on, so they were set in one era. Whereas, you know, sometimes you want skeletons for other things, and you know. Anyway, then these guys came out. This is the skeletons from Warlord, and now these guys have come out, which are the skeletons from the North Star Oathmark range. So things are looking good if you're wanting a really large skeleton army. Of course, you could always buy them from that other company, but I wouldn't suggest that. They're the bases you get with the box. Now, we like basing on round bases, the flat round ones, so not much use for us, but probably in the game they use square bases, but we're not playing that anyway. We use, this is one of the skeletons already painted up, we use the round bases that we get from Warlord because they're awesome. Anyway, this is the sprue. You get 30 figures inside, so slightly more figures than the Frostgrave figures, although Frostgrave, they tend to be a bit bulkier and chunkier. And you only get, I think, 20 figures in those. These you get 30, so that's better, you know. So these are the skeletons, and that's what they look like in close-up. Now, one slight downside, if you're not wanting to do sort of fighting fantasy stuff, they all have sort of an armoured breastplate bar one figure. That's not much of a problem because we're using them for fantasy. The other skeletons, that's these guys, we're using for what do you call it? Not skeleton people. The other ones. Oh, brain melted. Samurai, that's it. Yeah, we're using the skeletons for samurai. So these figures wouldn't be that much use for the samurai game, but the Warlord games skeletons do great for our samurai game. These will do absolutely great for our Oathmark games. So yeah, I just like them. We're using them as kind of semi-Viking-esque type skeletons, like Draugr, and these are absolutely great for that. And well, that's the skeleton bodies. Luckily enough, on the back there's no back plate or anything, but you do get straps, which is fine. The shields are okay. They're kind of brass-looking shields. We're not using those. We're using shields from those shields, which are from the Viking boxes. We always end up with loads and loads of spare shields. I've got a box absolutely full of shields, so it's no pain for us to use the shields. The arms for attaching the shields are pretty good because they attach to the hole in this shield just as well as they attach to the back of these shields, so it actually works out quite well. You've got two types of bow, or one bow being sort of pulled back and one bow not being pulled back. I'm not really sure. One could be a short bow and one a long bow, I'm not really sure, but it doesn't really matter, they look good. Then we've got the best way of firing a bow, which is a hand attached to an arrow, which is great, which you can either use to be firing with, or you can have the hand reaching behind to get another arrow, which is quite good. Then what else have we got? Right, the heads. Heads, they're okay, a little bit pointy. There's a slight sort of Greeky type of feel to the heads, but not too Greeky. More sort of Conan the Barbarian type Greek. They're okay, but we're just using the basic skulls anyway, and you've got more than enough skulls to go around. You can use them for anything you want. That's slightly Celtic, or Germanic, should I say. So yeah, they're not bad. The spears, they're pretty okay, but there's only 2 poses for the spears. But given that the joints on the skeletons are quite easy to manipulate, then you can put them in any pose you want. Then we get 3 types of sword. 2 types of sword, sorry. You got 2 types of sword there. One where he's sort of got the sword in the air or whatever, and one where he's holding it close, and then one where he's holding the sword out, and one where he's holding the sword down. And then we have the spears, which again are only in 2 poses, which is okay because there's a lot you can do with a skeleton. And that's the figures. They're pretty basic and they're okay. They're not as easy to break. One thing I noticed with the skeletons from Warlord, they're very dainty. You have to be very careful with them, especially when you're basing them. These ones are a little bit tougher, a little bit harder to damage. Although I did damage one, but that wasn't my fault. That was due to someone leaning over my painting desk and stealing my glue. Therefore knocking the figures over and breaking a spear, but that was, just a thing. So that's not bad. These are the figures based and painted. That's what they turn out like. They're not too bad. They come together quite well, if I can get the camera to zoom in a bit. They're decent figures. The poses are okay. You've got some pretty good sort of fighting poses, like he's firing the bow and he's well positioned. He looks quite good doing it, and they look quite lifelike. Well, dead-like, life dead-like. They're skeletons. They look quite kind of heroically, realistically posed. That's it. And that's one, and he's holding the bow in his hand. With these, I've painted the sort of bronze armor, and the bronze bits of the armor sort of has gone off green, which is the patina you get on bronze. But the irons turn to rust, and yeah, I had quite a bit of fun painting them. This was just the 5 figures. One sprue I took off to test how they went together and make some figures out of it, and they actually came out quite well. And the straps look great because they're exactly attached to where the shield is, so he's clearly holding the shield on a strap, and the armor looks quite good. They're decent figures. I quite like them. So that's basically about it. That is the skeleton infantry from Oathmark, and you're going to see us playing with them soon enough. And that's about it. So leave any comments in the comment section. Leave a like if you feel like liking the video. And this has been Imperator Vespasian. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.